I'll let you go.
Like that he simplified.
All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your sublime interludes and your peripatetic ramblings. I'm here before you now speaking as I might speak to other people, but since I'm speaking to you, I can't speak to them. I'm cleaning my glasses now. You won't even notice. Yes, dear. May I call in your hand?
Mr. Brady, you forgot to say yo, yo, yo.
Yo, yo, yo. Thank you so much. Yo, be here now. So I'm going to do the usual routines. If I may, welcome you to Sacred Grounds. I'm Dan Brady, the current host of this, the longest-running open poetry mic in the known and unknown universe. Sorting up good food and good food and fine poetry since 1972. And now let's have a big round for you, me, thus, Teddy back there. A big round for the house. To get us started, get those hands moving. Thank you. Thank you very much. My mother thanks you. My brother thanks you. My sisters, cousins, best friends, uncles, second neighbors, third grade teachers, second dog's favorite human thanks you. Please support this reading by buying food and drinks here. That's how this works. Tonight's feature, we have Aja. I never had to say the last name.
Aja Kushaw Duncan.
Aja Kushaw Duncan, and then right here in the house. So give this person a round of applause. Aja's not here yet, but she will be. So that's going to be grand. This is the first week of four events dedicated to indigenous poet presentations. Indigenous writers at Sacred, we've decided to call it. Kim over here is my helper. She made this happen. Give her a round of applause here. Without her, this crazy idea would never have happened. A round of applause. Or a square of applause. Or a rectangular. Okay, so we have that. The keynote will be Mr. Richard Sanderell, of course. Our mini feature is Marco Harps. That's going to be grand, simply grand. And then Chris First. Where is he? He will be last. Chris First will be last because he is the clincher closer, super duper bulldozer, the final word. No one gainsays him at that point. The next thing is this link up on the wall. It comes in handy in 5 simple ways. If you can't be here, you can view in. If you want someone to see you live, you point them in that direction. If you want to hear somebody's poem again, because you couldn't believe you, whatever, that's again the way to do that. And if you want to do a self-critique, hello, you can do that. And more importantly, it's a way to put out your word, the word, a word, any word, the weird word, the back word, and the full word. Right? That's right! That's right! This brings us to the ongoing theme, which is never doubt that a small group of committed citizens, such as we have here, can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has, and that's by Miss Margaret. Thank you. And tonight's particular theme, thanks to David Erdreich, tonight's particular theme, not the ongoing general theme which you just talked about, is Lost Law. So L-O-S-T-L-A-W. So Lost Law. If you have something on that, it's not before. The fabulous door prizes, we have so many. The Island of Lost Maps, a true story of a cartographic crime by Miles Hardy. I don't know anything about this. Someone does.
It's great. How to click.
Rainier Marie Wilkie, Virginia Woolf, and Virginia Woolf. Orlando and her art as a novelist. And then these two we have, again, Virginia Woolf, The Death of a Moth and Other Essays, and A Rule of One's Own. This I've read. This is good. I like it. Then we have a few things from the Sanderell over here, but more importantly from Val. Poems under the Dome, an open mic celebration of National Poetry Month, Thursday, April 27, 2017, 5:30 to 8 p.m., North Light Court City Hall, number 1, Carlton B. Goodlett Place, San Francisco, California, 333. This is one of the door prizes. You get your assigned slot, as well as, or if you want to do that when you're here, this will be amongst the door prizes, but this is an important consideration. And then, of course, there's things like becoming the mini feature, the co-pilot, the last word, which you'll see, the keynote, which you'll see in choosing the theme. So there's those, and then these are wonderful pieces of art. These are calendars, right?
Yeah, great pictures.
Great pictures. There's 3 of those. Powwow, and then ancient. This is the one I would like, I think. So, and then also the.
Now that you should know that is a white artist, but a lot of Native people really like his work and pose for him.
Okay.
But I just want people to know that's not an Indian.
Okay, but the sincerity is there, and that's remarkable. All right, so that takes care of those. Now I'm going to sit by Caducus here. Oh, and Richard Sandoval, you know, of course, that you are the keynote individual. Give Richard a round as he comes up here to deliver us and the keynote, as it were. Carlton B. Goodlett. I wonder who that is.
There's a educator.
Okay. There we go. Ask and ye shall receive.
Anybody know Bruce Coburn, the folk singer? Wow, really?
I don't know Bruce.
He's Canadian, but he's been pretty popular. If I had a rocket launcher, anybody remember that? No, well, I guess not.
Tough audience today.
Anyway, I'm going to read his lyrics to a piece of music called "Maybe the Poet" for Poetry Month. Maybe the poet is gay, but he'll be heard anyway. Maybe the poet is drugged, but he won't stay under the rug. Maybe the voice of the spirit, in which case you better hear it. Maybe he's a woman who can touch you where you're human. Male, female, slave or free, peaceful or disorderly. Maybe you and he will not agree, but you need him to show you new ways to see. Don't let the system fool you. All it wants to do is rule you. Pay attention to the poet. You need him and you know it. Put him up against the wall. Shoot him up with pentothal. Shoot him up with lead. You won't call back what's been said. Put him in the ground, but one day you'll look around. There'll be a face you don't know, voicing thoughts you've heard before. Male, female, slave or free, peaceful or disorderly. Maybe you and he will not agree, but you need him to show you new ways to see. Don't let the system fool you. All it wants to do is rule you. Pay attention to the poet. You need him, and you know it.
And that is the attribution sheet. I always forget to say that, so when you read a poem by someone else, I'll hand that to you, so that when I do my attributions, I will not always say Charge of the Light Brigade by Charles Hawtrey on the Deaf Aid. He remembers that very few. Charles Hawtrey, it was from a Beatles album, they mentioned that in the side, in some kind of strange thing. I'll stop now. All right. So, thank you, Richard. I appreciate that. Kathleen Wood is opening up the open, so she's going to be coming up here. Give her a nice round, please, as she comes forward. You take the initiating run.
Okay. This one is called Complementary Demons. We were lying in bed. The space heater was whirring in that hypnotic way it has of whirring. And it was warm and our bodies felt fit together so nice, like we were twin caterpillars in a cocoon. We were digesting our steaks. He started stroking my belly around where my liver is, and I felt something brace through my liver and out my elbow. I mentioned this occurrence, and he started making motions like pulling strands of something from my stomach, and I could see in my mind's eye these long worms being removed from my liver. And he was talking about how Antoinette used to do the same thing with Larry, and how he'd never believed it, but that psychic healing stuff was real. And then I reached into his being and started tugging on this hideous thing with roots, and I yanked it out, and then the next one was a worm, and it wriggled back into his belly, and the next one whispered to my brain, "You don't really want to fuck with us now, do you?" And I didn't persist. He told me he was possessed by thousands of hideous demons, like a Geiger painting, and I shouldn't try to pull them out because he needed them. And anyway, if I pulled them out, they might enter me and possess me, and then what would I do? I thought that was a good point. And I wondered, were his demons aggressive, whereas mine were passive or catatonic or dead? Was there an analogy in our births? He came in kicking and screaming while I refused to breathe and turned blue. Passive aggression meets terrorism, sadism to masochism. Is this why we lie in bed together like this? As the space heater whirs like it always does for complementary demons? Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen. Always good. Thanks for getting on the first shot there. Mr. Bunton is next. Then we have Owen, Brett, Stephanie, Sally, Jack, and Martin himself. So give him a round, move it around. He hasn't been here for a while. Give him a round of applause. He comes here. Thank you. You don't want to get really close to it there, buddy.
This is called As an Adolescent. As an adolescent, virtually all I cared about was baseball, much like now. Oh, there's work in poetry, of course, but during the baseball season, that takes priority. I set up on the metal bar behind the fence, and the right fielder is a few feet in front of the knothole. Most often, Hunter Pence, the friendly, blonde, bearded fellow who hustles beyond belief. If I could have played Major League Baseball, I would have. Not quite enough ability. If I had had the ability, I might have preceded Pence by 35 or 40 years, pitching my heart out at Candlestick Park maybe, which of course preceded AT&T Park as the home of the Giants. All right, that's it. This is maybe I shouldn't confess this, but I am. 67 years old. I'm 67 years old in my hotel room writing. I'm a little behind the times, I guess, but I relate well to my high school students. I suppose they like my effort and can tell I enjoy the differences and similarities between them and me. They have a lot of energy.
Yeah. Thank you, Buford. Thanks for having me. Okay, so we have Owen coming up. Come on up, Owen. Then we got Brett, Stephanie, Sally. And give him a round, please. He comes up, please. Welcome him, as he would be welcome. Hallelujah, brothers and sisters.
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
But
Sixth-rate Sonnet B. Predicament today, Toddy cares cast a spell. Castro whodunit, fire engine firmament, fractured fire trap fissures of men, who bathe their illuminorgy. Who's who in happiness hussies, hurry along the attack waves. Altamont has an altar for Israelis. Rouse rotten Raja. Loyalty is for lovers, louses, and leeches. Can't speak has a spell, can't cast a hex in foreign tongues. Hexameter, all idle wives are lascivious. Cavorting is for courtesans. Fax is for frantic fishes. Bobby Fischer says hello. Every sonnet is a destitute dilettante in a drizzle. Shine it. Gala, lust, things put on, poor Mondays, fist flames, say, gainsay. I hesitate to hesitate every way. May I say every day to every man's door, his poor cottage music, more now, less than. His spouting says less than noble rages. May heaven may know more than the score I keep. Heaven wrapped around a door full of candy and flowers. Mouse and moose, knockabout, keen sound. Some sense no one, I say house and home. House or home, question mark. Space and time, I worship in the dark. Christian sonnet. Let us now praise famous folly, muscular Palestrina destined for all. Are we the servant to a savant? Cause more trust, trip out on Tripin Tristessa, gawk at the moles that save and survive and say our prayers to bread and reason? Let us reason the fact we are reasonable men, seen in success, socket to 'em all. The halls be jolly, not judicious, jolly and yes, folly, 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 fun and folly we take to bed and reason. Die on the planet, we make more our season. Pretty in the rain. Souls shine on like the cats of blue, your eyes fleckily lidded, not all, like those of all other women, Queen Tanya. Pretty and unnecessarily angry. I wonder at myself enough to keep my soul in check, as I would rule the world, alas, my fair one, my pretty, though not so unnecessarily angry as I, thoughtful but happy. The paladins of women, the daffodils of love, and ah me, she loves me, she loves. And Spartans, and the famous Greeks, those helmeted warriors that jumped out to save Helen, beautiful Helen, from the arms of her fair Paris and his narcissistic abode. To fellow artists, poets, painters, and the like, there is no such thing as a bad poem. I ask the wind for love. I ask the wind for love, turtles and leaves blown, night too black to cry into, a shove the moon took to be torn above, an alchemy to tear the wind's might. I ask the wind for love. 3. Black Tuesday, 7:30, the library. Dove cries that reach out from the hush, white blackness to cry into, and shove from all the laughing planets, roam about the Gaelic heavens as they sight the wind. I ask for love. Swimming, 5, swimming like a stray fish, move like a mouse held in the light, black I cry into a shove too many to make I find, grove of blackness and lifts, fires ignite. I ask the wind for love. Black, black, I cry into a shove.
Thank you, Mr. Owen. Give me a nice round, please. Go and don't go. Regular. All right. Pardon my French. Brett. Is a Brett Benson in the house? Brett. We call him Red. Brett. Give him a round of applause. He's up here. He's no longer new. So we know that.
Hey guys.
Hello.
Just so you know, so no one is upset, I'm writing the instructions over on my computer for how to set up the camera and stuff, just so you know what I'm working on. Okay? Not like trying to start a revolution on Facebook or something. I'm too old for that. Alright, this one was written on Easter. Seriously, oh yeah, right. No, apparently at my school I said, kids, I'm on Facebook. They're like, what's that? I was like, oh boy. I can't relate to them. Alright, I wrote this on Easter. It's called Spring Rising. The spring air steps into view to shake off the sleeping masses, with flora and fauna waking and moving throughout the sky down to green grasses. A whisper of resurrection, a hope with extravagant light correlated with vision. Several names chanted, all meaning the same conception. Ishtar and Inna, Demeter and Persephone, Artio and Bewin, Bridget and Dezawana, Flora and Freya, Harake and Kono, Hana, Sukuya, Himi, Kostroma and Sita, and Ashua of Nazareth. Seasons changes to rejuvenated ranges, o'er the waters, airs, lands. Keep peace in mind as the earth still lives, creating a better world on which to stand. All right, so this is a rough draft, but that's fine. This is a kind of a poem, but slash a piece I created, kind of a fake fictional conversation. Doesn't have a title. I started talking to the ghost of Christmas past or present the other night, and he didn't have a lot of nice things to say. Not that he wasn't a jolly man, but that he thought that a lot of the jolliness had left from the earth. I asked him to give me some advice. You see, sometimes we look to our past to say the past is dead. I say we need to learn some lessons. If we're going to push forward, we can't just say we know everything. Because really, when you look around and you look out in space and you see the light beyond, 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 I think we know very much nothing. He said to me, there's a point where you have to engage. You have to be willing to think deeply, not what's on TV, not what's on the newspaper headline, not what your best friend said was some kind of post that was popular, not because you heard it on your news channel. You have to think beyond your conventions. You have to want to believe that truth exists and that truth is more valuable than your singular expression and viewpoint. Thank you.
Nice. Red Benson. And now the stellar and fantastic Stephanie Manning is coming up to take the mic. Give her a nice round, please.
It's nice that you talked about truth a little bit there at the end. So this is about truth. So I was reading Rolling Stone magazine, which somebody left on the train. There's some good articles in there. And so here's one. Here's a page from it. And it goes like this. The truth is hard. The truth is hidden. The truth must be pursued. The truth is hard to hear. The truth is rarely simple. The truth isn't so obvious. The truth is necessary. The truth can't be glossed over. The truth has no agenda. The truth can't be manufactured. The truth doesn't take sides. The truth isn't red or blue. The truth is hard to accept. The truth pulls no punches. The truth is powerful. The truth is under attack. The truth is worth defending. The truth requires taking a stand. The truth is more important now than ever. And that's written by the New York Times.
New York Times.
It's an ad.
Okay.
I think that was very interesting. Anyway,
Yes.
so then I wrote a poem in response to that. And it goes, well, yeah. It's called What Has Become of Truth? Reduced, shrunk, Godzilla to hummingbird, grizzly bear to ferret. Truth slips in through cracks, emerges in whispers between acquaintances, proclaimed by those injured, written for posterity. And we, all Google-eyed, sit and stare, shake our heads like good Democrats, beat our chests like when truth was as powerful as Godzilla or Oscar Jonesy. But really, truth, like lint in his lapel, gets brushed off by his valet. And it's off to the circus where clowns wear masks and big hats and declare it safe to burn more coal and oil. No need for safeguards. All the earth's creatures balance on the high wire with no net below, but plenty of false promises. Help us, grizzly bears. We're going completely insane.
I can't bear that. I didn't say that. I didn't say that. All right. Thank you, Stephanie. Sally. Now this individual. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on a second. She doesn't know that we have a tradition about how we welcome individuals to the mic for the first time. And I forgot to mention that. So as she comes up here, let us please welcome her in the tradition that we've become used to welcoming a newbie. Come on up, Sally. Give her a nice round. We had to have a few cats in there.
Thank you. Thanks for such a warm welcome. I'm just visiting. I'm Sally with my partner Joe. We're just visiting from England for a week, and so we just really wanted to come and find you guys here, and really glad to get an opportunity to come and read. I'm going to read from our book, The Unfinished Dream. I did the words, and Joe did the visual work. Back home, I usually perform this naked with words written across my body in my own menstrual blood. But I didn't think I'd be able to bring a jar of my blood into the country, so you get the fully clothed version, I'm afraid. Can you hear me without the mic?
Yes.
Oh, thanks. I really prefer to read that way.
All right. Well, let me just make sure
Is that okay?
yeah, it's just so like we
If
have
not-
you framed so people can see you as needed. Go ahead, dear.
Inscribe my name. Sharp. Vertical incision to the inside of my left wrist. Traces of blood bubble. Red pearls on the string of my inner outer self. Border less. I see my skin unbound. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I unstitch myself. Open to the flow of things to come. Sharp. Intake of breath. The world's breathing fills my lungs and moves me cell by cell. This co-respond dance between my breathing, your breath. You fill me, fill you, fill me with the otherness of your our breath. As I am filled, I empty. Piercing, horizontal line. Intersecting, a third of the way down, that first vertical. Releases, more red pearls. Rising to the surface from unknown, unguessable depths. Sharp. Liquid interior flows out as breath of air flows in, flows out. Score. 3 more. Just 3 more. Score more. Be more. Score more. And with that final score, I am myself remade, renamed in my divine image. Flesh made word. Open, silent. This wound, my name, in flesh and blood, ties, binds me to the unbound self, the open self, without limits, within rhythm, my border less. My blood, my song on, my ink spills its stain, its mark, its bloom, illegible, invisible, to those who do not see, to those who cannot read. I give myself this new name to take back the power I never had, never have. The things you do in my name are not on my behalf. I add my name to thousands who stand against you. My blind and silent voice screams in dead air and nobody awakes. This house does not crumble. Dismembered voice, forgotten dreams. A disembodied silence fills my muted cry to indifferent ears. Inside, speech's silent center, my subatomic bomb explodes. Breaking the boundaries of this world. Breaking. I fold, score, tear, and make the cut. Blank. folio sections waiting to absorb the ink, the blood that flows from unbound veins to write myself into your story, your time. Thus, write my progress. See how I am delivered, delived, delived. Livre à l'anarchie, my only recourse. I am bound to radical action by your attacks upon my borders. I stitch with my own hair, lace my sinew stretched, bind in my own skin. The story that I am cannot contain nor be contained, covered, case-bound, closed, curtailed. I overflow these pages, live beyond these borders. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much. Wow. What part of England?
Brighton.
Okay, good. Wow. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Jack Melander is our next reader, as they say. Give him a nice round as he comes up here. A man known for his many talents.
These were written in the early part of the last half of the last century, the last millennium, have lasted since then. To an erring cog, the tapes of memory must not reveal what in the stresses of thy metal work discordances against the great flywheel, and yet by whopping around erratically, the enterprising worm deer can get pulled. So have I certainly been levers jerked and got one probable forced out to me, bizarre it is, and problematical. There dwelt somewhere in our bureaucracy an antiquated idling cell of thought grown magnetized to great sagacity, which claimed to know this of our origin, that o'er the earth, as she spun into life, long ere our gods the first transistor wrought, the hydrocarbon Homo sapien reacted with itself in brilliant strife. This means 'tis sure that through thy texture run slight traces of this more than human stuff, which all the smelting of thy youth did shun, to sing out now against the machinery, to trick the bearings into coursing, and altogether work the great august computers into smiles. Boom. Sunset Street people, their silver spent slowly through the shifty air wending home or someplace. Too many walk alone in silence with empty arms. Or maybe it's only me. A small brown bag crumpled up, skittering downtown on its many corners. An opportunist may decide his heart and conscience to be of little worth and saleable, may openly festoon his hip with stupid gun, twist his lip with sneers, his mind with bullying, and flip-flop forth in uniform and silvery bags, infect a park where tender folk might gather close to smell a flower, convalesce from workaday desultoriness. So the magic comes back. It was only the war, and love outlasts hate, and the craftsman sets up his afternoon tables in the sun side of Telegraph Avenue, and young college students saunter or sashay up to the campus looking for love, believing in love and in wonder, with the revitalizing faith of the young, and the natural fantasy of life seeps back into Berkeley, filling the vacuum of the ambience of war's surreal absurdity. And the time of martial law, and the time of cordons armed troops marching to save their gate, and the time of police murders is gone. It was never real like the time of joy that has come back strong to dispel again now, but now forever the wind of pig horror that anciently blew through us from the garbage dump of human greed. And various poets and painters and music makers who lived happily alone before the folly commenced, who lived high in towers of cold aesthetic isolation, pursuing the favors of forsaken gods of big tormented luster. Strange, indrawn, recalcitrant spirits who were never really young and only invaded the landscape of human care and human need to fall against the fleeting chaos that ground through towns some decades ago and only seemed a permanent change, but was really the last thrills of dying evil. High school pariahs whose passion could muster the courage to resist any harm but never quite summon the guts to love. They were now exiled from their easy book-lined cells of fond escape, thrown to the mercy of smiles of ageless desire, and the inexorably toward them long terror where paradise should come to live forever, since the fists of war doesn't pledge for caressing.
McMillender. Now I am proud and pleased as punch, as they used to say, to have Mr. Martin Joseph come here and have his say. That rhymes, I know it, and I hope I'm a poet and show it. I now apologize for that.
Good evening, Sacred Grounds.
Good evening, Mr. Martin Joseph.
You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to just sit by and watch it all happen, while Donald Trump and an ever so long list of right-minded wingnuts drag what used to be this country back into the days of the Roman Empire, back to the days when there was no middle class and the few at the top splendored in the riches created by their slaves. They saw no shame in that, no shame at all. You have the right to remain silent. You may, if you wish, scribble down a little poem and read it to a few friends at a local coffee house. You may even walk down Market Street with 20,000 other people and express some disapproval of the way things are. You may clear your throat like a British nobleman or cluck your tongue like a disapproving clergy. You may even cling steadfastly to the idea that any of your actions will have even the slightest effect on the powers that be. Just so long as you remember that it was written into the Constitution, $1, one vote, and then again, one extra free and discretionary dollar, one vote, and then again, one extra free and discretionary $1 million, one vote. Because we just want to keep things simple. You don't have an extra free and discretionary $1 million, do you? And why am I talking to you? You will always have the right to remain silent. I saw the day when we put 250,000 people on the Capitol Mall. Noble words rang through the speakers and we all went home. But the war kept on going on. A Buddhist monk set himself on fire and the wars kept going on. Phil Oakes committed suicide and the wars kept going on. The machines of loving grace that Donald Trump believes watch over us now have much faster processors. They can consider 1 million action alternatives before we can get our heads around one. My friends long ago hypothesized that if somehow they could just pop off Nixon, maybe that would turn things around. Maybe that would bring our men and women home from all the wars. They did not know about the mushrooms in Michigan that cover 4 square miles of spores and that are all just part of exactly the same mushroom. You pop off Nixon, you pop off Hoover, hell, you even pop off Reagan, Bush, and Trump, and Cheney, and Trump, and the Koch brothers, and Trump, and Steve Bannon, and Trump, and Mitch McConnell, and Paul Ryan, and Trump, and Kellyanne Conway, Sean Spicer, and Bill O'Reilly, and Fox News, and Trump! And you still haven't made a dent. The substructure of stolen money at the top will just generate new spores. The pervasive giant mushroom that strangles our state houses, that has gerrymandered our voting districts into farce, and that knows the coding of the voting machines, will teach us how to live in an autocratic society and give us all the full right to remain silent. But I am not a silent man. Instead, I will take my Indian drum and all of you out to the windy beach in San Francisco. We'll take Marco harps, too.
Yeah, good.
And we will beat the ancient rhythms and keep time with his harmonica. And we will go to that place where the spirit of Steve Mackin resides. And we'll dance beside the waves, raise great poets from their graves. We will hear their words we crave, with written into shadows on Plato's cave. We will feed Sacred Grounds coffee to all who spend the starry night with us. It will be the night that we all create art. We'll hear a poem about Dan Brady's fart. And we'll show the weakness of the clowns who would wield their power over us. And when the dawn is breaking, we will amplify the clouds. We will hold our heads unbowed. We will speak our thoughts aloud where no one is disallowed. Where we think the thoughts unthinkable with the spirit that's unsinkable. Electric flashes will fill the airwaves. Our ohms will be our broadcast towers with Jimi Hendrix rhymes played through cathedral chimes. We will reach across the stratosphere and integrate all times. We will discover that we have never, ever been alone. Suddenly, we see the faces that join in our parade with ideas that never fade. We will know that we have made just another link in one long, unending chain. Yes, we all have the right to remain silent. I have the right to remain silent, but I won't. You have the right to remain silent, but I don't think you will. We all have the right. We all have the right to remain silent, but we never, ever will.
Yeah! Thank you! Martin Joseph, all right. That brings us to me, I'm sorry to say.
Not you.
Not me. Not that guy. How'd he get in here?
Gewalt machen wollen können, haben sagen. So he took care of like political stuff, so I don't have to do the dirty work. I figured, great, I can read these three, and oh, no, okay, I was going to say they're all entitled, but they're not. This one is though. How she holds me, vast, deep, and spectacular. Her sky of jet, her vaulting great womb, all-encompassing compassion, glistening with galaxies. How she holds me, all above and round about in her wondrous bright blue gaze, as the world turns towards the sovereign's blaze, the fascinating changes as horizons wash with blush. How she holds me, in our valley, between the ridge lines, their silhouettes, her profiles, yes, breathe deep the gathering dawn and scent into the wind touching my face. How she holds me, the light in my lover's eyes, the sparkle there, her gaze before me, upon me. How she holds me in the warmth of her hands, in her heart with nary a whisper from the smile in her words. How she holds me within our hearts, upon our world, forever and ever on and on. How she holds me. And this is a related poem, well, you'll see if there's a relationship there. This is called Desire. Out on the veranda, it is quiet. A cool breeze greets my face. The crying and talking are hidden away. This is a big house. Its white adobe walls are cooling now. The wind touches the trees. I look out over the houses. A guitar is somewhere, splendidly. My lips say these words. Dead. She is dead. Her white hair will dry, falling to dust. I want to go out, away to the mountains. The illusions of memory, the colors of festival, the daily work and dinners ending in talks disappear. I look out to remember the seabirds calling as the sky closes over the ocean. I taste the salt on my lips. I remove my mother's black gloves from my pocket. The crumpled lace blooms into my palm. I cup them to my face. their scent of Sundays. It takes me years and years to answer someone calling my name. And so this one's a little bit silly, and it's not related to those two anyway. I sing. I admit it simply enough. Sometimes I whistle too. And it's a bit odd. I admit that for sure. In this world of plugged-in, interconnected disconnection, I am a rare bird. Once I was strolling downtown when I noticed how intent everyone was. All around me they strode quickly along, staring at screens, fingering fingers, and oddly, I was moved to whistle an old tune. I loved it. I knew the words, but I could not bring myself to sing. I feared I'd be embarrassed, but I couldn't say why. After all, who would hear? It seemed that singing as one walks in a crowd is too interpersonal a thing, but whistling, well, maybe not so much. Even then, it was almost too crazy odd. Yet, there I was, whistling along, the only live performer in the midst of thousands on a bustling downtown business district sidewalk, a musical mote among a workaday sidewalk scene. Everywhere I glanced, the plugged-in, interconnected, dazed of eye, deaf of ear, and distracted of gaze were intent upon vibrations no one else was aware of. No sharing, no glances, no caring, nor nods, but I could watch as I moved along through them. And so I was free to whistle away, singing along to the song in my mind, of course. I reflected on my resistance to singing as well as the satisfaction of whistling, even as the throng with its many, many widely varied people on this strangely silent sidewalk, each with their rigid face, determined and attentive to something else from somewhere else, each with far away eyes. None of them could hear me. And in that odd kind of public privacy, I could whistle on my merry way, which I did as much as I pleased, though I dare not sing. Thank you.
Okay, I made it. Now, wer ist die nächste? Oh, Anna Wolf is the next, and I should have given her a heads up for this, but I didn't, so I'll chat her until she gets here. Give her a nice round of applause. She hasn't been here in a long time, or this could be her first time, so give her the hoot. Come on, people. There we go.
It's probably the first time in about a decade, so I think that counts as...
Yeah, it does. It does. It
First time in a decade?
Probably at least a decade, yeah, since I've been here. So,
Wow.
this is a longer piece, and I have the intro. Thank you. It's great to see all of you. Some of you have heard part of this, some of you haven't. It's on my website, which is here. I'll be posting more about it on my website, but this is what I've got on the website right now. The quote is from Homer's Odyssey. Of these adventures, Muse, daughter of Zeus, tell us in our time, lift the great song again. Sometime in 1986, Daddy explained to me the myth of the journey of the hero. It was the only 6 weeks I spent with my parents after leaving home when I was 17. My sister did not feel that starving myself into a coma while working in a strip club in San Francisco was a good postgraduate choice. So she sent me home for some parental guidance. Daddy was teaching a class on ancient Greek tragedy. He was lecturing on Joseph Campbell. It's usually a male myth, he said, facing me, the oldest of his 3 daughters, with his typically inscrutable expression. This distinction catapulted me into the advanced state of rage in which I spent most of our overlapping lifetimes. It goes like this, he told me. The hero doesn't start out as a hero. He starts out as just some guy, living somewhere, but then he has to leave his home and go on some big adventure and accomplish something. There have to be difficulties, plot complications, the retrieval of sacred relics, many-headed monsters who can't be killed, surprise visits from supernatural goddesses of war who were sprung in full armor from their fathers' foreheads, that would be me, and so forth, before he can come home. When he comes home, then he is a hero. He has to go on a journey. in order to be called a hero. That's why it's called The Journey of the Hero. I sat there silently, wondering if the same thing applied to heroines. He said not, but I was pretty sure that it did. 28 years later, I get in my rental car and I head out across the country on I-80 North alone, with only the ghost of a beatnik father for company. After that last dreadful fight with my boyfriend, who is being slowly brainwashed by the right-wing radio talk show he keeps glued to his ear while he sleeps. This is a true story. Left and right have once again split like a sharp sword in front of me, and I must navigate on the razor's edge. I can hear Daddy's typewriter clicking. The Journey of the Hero. I can see the jazz drifting down from the clouds. I can even smell his pipe smoke. The hero doesn't start out as a hero. He's just some guy, some kind of artist, working in some university, working to support his family, living in America during the 1960s, protesting the war. On the sacred plain of Kurukshetra, the Pandavas and the Kuras are arrayed. But I can hear Daddy whispering in my ear, I will never be lost to you. You will never be lost to me. The 60s. He spent the entire Vietnam War counseling young men on how to legally declare themselves conscientious objectors and avoid the draft. He had experience. He was raised in the Brethren in Christ Church, first cousins to the Amish. He had been a CO during World War II. In fact, as my brother once had to explain to an enraged Vietnamese refugee in the back of a hot kitchen in New York City, all of my male ancestors all the way back to the Revolutionary War were conscientious objectors. 1962. When I was 4 years old, I stood next to him where he sat in a cane-back chair with the sun slanting through the windows. He had just typed out the lyrics to an anti-war song he heard me singing as I danced around our house near Chapel Hill, North Carolina, the same year that an epic race war that I was far too young to understand played itself out on television screens and in the woods behind our house. I watched carefully as he manually turned the paper through the inked roller. I was sure I could do that too. Daddy, I said as the realization struck me, do you know what I'm going to be when I grow up? He glanced down at me through his horn-rimmed glasses. What's that, he said, through the stem of the pipe clenched in his teeth. Writer. 1967. 5 years later, when I was 9, he walked me over to one of the bookshelves in the living room. A different house by now. 4th grade, and I had already lost count of the number of houses. And all the trips back and forth in the car, crisscrossing the country, how many times? Always with Daddy at the wheel, his long hair combed back, his arm hanging out the driver's window burnt red, the cigarette in his mouth, his family in the car, but the same books. He pointed to a row of books by Anais Nin and placed him between Henry Miller and Lawrence Durrell. When she was 9 years old, he said, this woman started writing a letter to her father, who was on the other side of an ocean. It turned into all these books. 1999. The last book I saw Daddy reading was The Gulag Archipelago by Alexander Solzhenitsyn. It kept turning up on the coffee table in Bisbee, or in that big comfy chair every time I wanted to sit down, or in the cafe where he had his photo snapped with David Dillinger. Finally, I took the cue and I asked him, what's this book about, Dad? He gave me a long look through his horn-rimmed glasses, took a drag on his cigarette, and after a beat, he said, it's about a group of islands in an ocean.
Thank you. And now we're about to get underway here. Kim Shuck is coming up to the mic next. You're going to read some of your own stuff, aren't you?
I am, yeah.
Okay, she's going to, and then she's going to do a special introduction for our featured readers who are here in the house at this very moment. He said in a very
Confused accent.
that was Italian, you know. That was Italian.
Italian. Okay, I'm Kim. Hey, you do? Not my first. Yeah, I did. You
What'd you
know,
say?
mom ears. That's what that's about. Okay, got a couple here. It's called Balance. Her shawl fringe is made from found ribbon. Drops, she calls them. Some printed with candy company names, some with wedding dates. Uneven, gesture colors. City Indian, her dance shoes flash patterns, the lights torn out of worn cartoon character pennies, picked out of a box on Shotwell, with a fleece jacket she gave to the street preacher. She makes him uneasy. She beaded stars around the LEDs, northern style, and dark brown upholstery hide with a smooth on the inside. She dances the city back into balance. Every weekend she dances for the city. Perfect technique and protocol. Pigeon feather fans saluting as the truck wheels thud honor beats on the freeway overpass front. So everybody says Mother, but I'm Anelia, and in our tradition, the mother's the fire. Mother fire dragging herself through the dry, she licks and tastes. She's the extreme cure, singing shapeshift songs, singing change and heal, toast and soup, and the pines know their own ways to balance, to call fog and harvest her 1,000 colors like fish scales. They sizzle in the mother fire, her muscles tight and feral, the clench and release of her rummage through rattlesnake grass and sumac, her touch on the cones just so, and each one blooms and scatters.
Nice.
And this one's called A Rattle of Individual Voices and Tires, and I found out later that it is very close to a poem by Lee Francis III. So it's not a bad thing to find out. You pretty much wrote 20 years later a poem that somebody that good wrote. But on the other hand, I still read it.
Yes.
Incantations over Formica at carefully chosen hours, we define the old Route 66. The world serpent, shattered now like the spine of the Carpathians, the vertebra of the Andes. We are blacktop and burned coffee. We are pie 24 hours a day. We chart sunrises and arrange stones. We run fingertips over petroglyphs, over countertop scratches. Our prayer songs call cactus flowers out of the lizard-jeweled night, the breath of the lungless, that other beat of a heart that doesn't keep the blood warm, and the faint outline of an old-time eye that stares from an unclenched fist. And this is my last one. It's called Bridges and Crossroads. WPA bridge over the Neosho. I stood on it in full flood with my dad, the water just kissing the underside of the boards, the river moans shivering up my legs. It stood until the flood licked out the footings. They replaced it, but when I dream the Neosho, the old bridge is there. They took zinc out until they hit the daylight of 3rd Street. You could see the crack in the pavement. It looked like another pothole, and there was sunlight in the mine. Sunlight, just there, with the dull ache of lead and the grim scowl of Jack. Those cottonmouths knew some songs, too. They knew some fish songs. And once, crossing Tar Creek Bridge, a grandma snake got hit by a pickup, and in her last breaths we drove up on her there like a burning library, her songs falling away in curls, taken by updrafts like smoke prayers near the water. She looked me in the heart and whispered just one secret. I think when it was, Dan Brady asked me, what, 6 months ago?
Yeah, about 6 months ago.
About 6 months ago, if I would be willing to sort of co-curate
a series of readings with native poets here, and I thought, sure. Because it gave me a really good opportunity to rehear some people that I was going to have at my series at Adobe Books anyway. And this way I get to have them more than once in a certain period of time, so I'm delighted. And I'm really thrilled. I'm thrilled at all of the pairings, but this one I'm kind of proud of for a lot of reasons. And so first I'm going to call up Val Ibarra, who is not unfamiliar to most of you, I suspect.
Not unfamiliar at all, as a matter of fact.
Not unfamiliar at all. Global Val. We know her as the God. Global Val, radio host, host of readings, activist. You guys both do so many things. And I had some kind of plan that I was going to call up on my brand new phone. I don't really understand the bios that you gave me, but I've been fiddling with that phone for the last 15 minutes and found myself completely incapable of doing that. So instead what I'm going to do is just say a couple of things and then also tell you that Val is going to explain, I guess we're doing the... So, one of the things that Val is involved in is Poems Under the Dome. And so, quite excitingly, tonight, you're going to pick, or sort of, there will be a random pick to see who's also going to be included in the reading. So, many exciting things about Val right now. Can you welcome her up, please?
Thank you, Kim, for inviting me to read tonight. Yes, we are Poems Under the Dome, the 12th year. We're going into a week from tomorrow, so Thursday the 27th, from 5:30 to 8 p.m. at City Hall, inside City Hall. And as usual, if you come down to City Hall that night, put your name in the big green magical hat in the back. We'll be drawing names throughout the event for reading slots. If your name is chosen, you can read a poem, one poem in 3 minutes or less. So haiku is your 17 seconds of fame and gives a lot of other people the opportunity to read in City Hall.
Excellent.
So, but also with that are the community representative poets that we get from open mics around San Francisco throughout the month of April.
Just like this one.
National Poetry Month. And so instead of drawing names tonight, we're going to do it Dan Brady style. So the reading slot for Sacred Grounds Community Poet is going to be one of the prizes.
One of the very door prizes we mentioned earlier on to an annoying degree. One
of the door prizes. So if your number gets picked tonight and you come up, that is, you may have that reading spot. And if you do, please get in touch with me so I can contact you with the details. All right. Here we go. Some nature. Let the last thing you touch at night be something from nature. Hold fast to a cold stone. Grasp sandalwood or your own fleshy bones. Pat the plant. Or run some water along your lips. Something so that your body remembers its essence. And the cells again settle into harmonic reconnection as when it first assembled in its perfection. This next piece is called One Species on Earth, and it starts with a quote from John Steinbeck from the Log of the Sea of Cortez, which he wrote in the Sea of Cortez, but during World War II, I believe. And the quote is, "And thousands of miles away the great bombs are falling, and the stars are not moved thereby." One species on Earth. It's nearly absurd to think that the choices of one species on Earth could add so much calamity and effectively ignore this animal abnormality. For tigers eat what they need, snakes get hungry and feed, killer whales rush the plump seal, vulnerable with its silky belly on an ice berm. There's no risk of overeating. Yet, man has taken its position and made a sport of bleeding. Farmed food, extraction of fuel, wearing a macabre mask of eccentric death. Commercial and judicial, rubber stamp from the rainforest, fine print written on a large scale, an irascible penchant for domination, even when the enemy is a work of fiction. Don't be tricked into believing in our insignificance. We've still got a chance to shift, to choose, to dance, and with an abundant satisfaction of moving in a better direction.
Nice. Yeah.
This is for the water protectors. It's been a year of water here. Mount Tamalpais has gotten more water this year than I don't have the numbers, but it's had a lot of water this year. What's that?
Since the 20s.
Since the 20s. All right. Well, roar on, Mount Tamalpais. Quick note: the legend of Mount Tam is that Tamalpais was a local native kind of princess, if you will, who was pregnant and she died and laid her body down. So if you look at the profile from Ocean Beach, you see her hair, the features of her face, her breasts, and then her pregnant stomach, and then her feet go down into the Pacific Ocean. This is called Tamalpais Weeps, because James brought me some spring water from Mount Tamalpais not too long ago.
Nice.
Tamalpais weeps, and her children drink from the cold stone of her teat, languishing from the torrents, yet thriving through all her deep cuts, giving the fair and rare purity of drink. Just when it seems she is sinking, a shroud of cloud at her feet, yet her waters are springing. It is spring, so this poem is a spring-forward poem. It's been a little rough this winter for everyone, I think. Just trying to maintain, but there were definitely some moments where it was really hard to do so. So this starts with a quote from Rumi, who said, "If you are irritated by every rub, how can you be polished?" The last vestiges of a dark season left my spirit thrashing, as if some demon had been trapped inside my cold skin, a shrill resident on the brink of eviction. Having laid low and quiet while I patiently embraced the new weather of October, November, and December, supplementing with soup and sips of winter whiskey, enduring abrasive shifts in attitudes and paradigms, then turning toward a new year, holding out through more rain and a dampened atmosphere, elated by the January unity, and saved by a February getaway, where the unrest was partially released, yet whose depth was yet to manifest, unveiling a deep disgust, mistrust, and having had enough, making that final push a rough and tumble month, where I stumbled into even my own traps, lashing and acting out at every triggered irritant, wanting to be vulnerable but not supplicant, feeling like a kingdom's subject, perturbed and unapologetic, deflecting love and affection because my head was so infected with a drive that just wouldn't end. Until that disruptive entity tumbled out of my breath, free to sink into half a year of wetness, and in the process, washing me clean.
Yeah.
And I have one more. It's a short poem, and it's called Not in My Wallpaper. And it's a reference to the short 19th century story, the Yellow Wallpaper.
Yeah.
Right, where the woman is kind of, her husband's like, you know, he's a doctor, and he's like, you know, you just kind of need to rest. So he kind of sequesters her to this room, and the wallpaper starts to come alive at night, and she's kind of kept prisoner of it. But it's kind of more about gaslighting, because you know, her husband's like, you know what, you've had a little bit of a, what do they used to call it, temporary hysteria. So it's a powerful fable, I think. But this is my feminist poetic anthem from 2016. And now, I see the cracks, but it's not in my wallpaper. Rather, it is in the crackling facades, the flaking off of history's false promises, to reveal faded notions. Notice how the opaque has baked through, thinning the veneer until you can see clear to the other side as the light shakes off its shadows.
Wow. That's Valley Motto, ladies and gentlemen. Global Valley.
Thank you. Again, we have some flyers, micro flyers for City Hall. Come get the information for that. I'm going to be the MC for Earth Day this Saturday at Civic Center. Come out to enjoy community and music. It's a tribute to the Summer of Love anniversary, and the March for Science is joining Earth Day. And of course, all of you are always welcome. Mutiny Radio every Friday afternoon from 3 to 6 for our community open mic. All this information is up here on the table.
When on the break, just go to that table and take one of each. You'll love it. You will not be disappointed, as they say.
It's actually pretty fun to be at Mutiny Radio, by the way.
It is.
If you've never been, you should go. It's really fun to be there. Okay.
Oh, and Kim Shuck is going to be reading the first poem at Poem Dome as the poet.
Typical of the poet forgetting to blow their own horn.
Forgetting? No, neglecting to do.
Oh, okay, all right. Typical of the poet.
Well enough I'm doing that.
All right.
Thank you. Okay. So our next poet, we met because well, what ends up happening with Native poets generally is that we're asked to read most often when there's a special event at which it's Native poets. Right. We're rarely, this is why I don't usually do series of Native poets, because that's what always happens. And then the only cool part about that is that you end up meeting somebody you've never met before. So we got thrown together at one of those things, and essentially I think we were the only two Native people that this particular individual put it together knew, unfortunately. But it was a huge pleasure. So we read together at Modern Times, and I was stunned. And so I invited her to come to my reading series at one point. And we've read together at other things as well. Aja Duncan. Did I get it right that time?
There we go.
Very smugly one time I heard her introduced, and I went, "That's not how you pronounce that, is it?" And she went, "No." And then the next time I got up to introduce her, I blew it really bad. Which is what happens when you get judgmental about other people's pronunciation. Aja, the last thing I remember seeing that you were going to read was at the Poetry Center, which is pretty rare air. Is that coming up still, or did that happen?
I think I go next week for a class.
Right, okay. All right.
I'm like a specimen to be exact.
Are you a specimen?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're frequently that. There are enough of us here today, though, that we're not that, which is kind of fun.
Good.
So, she reads at very important venues, as well as this one now. This is the first time here, right?
Oh, yes, sir. So when you come up, we're going to do the number on her.
I mean, it's really exciting, and here's a really, really exciting thing. You're up for a California Book Award.
Maybe, yeah. Let's all intend that I win it, shall we?
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Let's just put energy into her winning that.
All right.
I've enjoyed so much listening to her work because one of the only good reasons to do a series of Native writers is to actually demonstrate who we really are instead of who people think we are. And so what you've got with me and Val are two people who are urban for the last 5 generations. And your work with language is pretty spectacular. So, as it is Aja's first time here,
yes,
let us make an enormous, embarrassing amount of noise to welcome her up to the mic. You're not late. You know what? She also gets my personal award for patience in finding parking. I think I saw you drive by about 15 times.
I did.
Jeez, Louise and
Hamburger.
Hamburger.
Yeah, I live more rurally, so driving is the only way to arrive here. So it's such a pleasure to be here, and I don't read at important places, but thank you. But I have the chance to read a couple of times at San Francisco State, which is fun because I graduated from their poetry program or creative writing program. I think it was 20 years ago. And so I was there last week for like a chapbook. They have a chapbook, online chapbook site for the celebration, and it was so fun to talk to students who were like wrestling with just writing. Like just the act of writing is so scary to them. And I'm like, right, I guess I remember that, you know, and just to like, just write. So it's really fun to go there for me. I feel really enthusiastic and amused at the things that we trip ourselves up about, right? Mm-hmm. Like no matter what stage we are and whatever we're engaging, it's like we're always tripping ourselves up. So I'm going to read there's a series of 4 poems called A New Order Of.
Out of a book you have copies of here, yeah?
I have 2, but one is for you.
Okay.
So I have 1, which I kind of want to give to you. So maybe I have 0. I don't know. But you can buy them.
There we go.
And I wonder, do the sales relate to the awards? They say they don't, but I bet they do. All right. So A New Order Of. Domain. Lanky and feathered, buzzard attempted to gather firelight. Some animals said bear had it. Others said fire was a dream that hadn't been dreamed yet. To call it yours, to call anything proprietary, what it means to be sentient, to be afraid. Spider thought her web into being. She had the light of the moon, but she too craved fire. Elaborate in her arrangement of limbs, she set off towards the amber horizon. The other animals nodded at her bravery, their eyes following her into the periphery. All biological systems are porous, dependent upon some kind of exchange. When Spider brought fire back, her once black back pulsed with a new orange light. Physics has its own explanation for things. For them, there is neither buzzard nor spider, but always there is fire. Without it, there would be no alchemy, no chemistry, no way to alter the elemental states of being. Imagine the world is in fact cleaved, a split in Spider's back. Beneath the red glow is a viscous fluid. Swim into it. It is amniotic. Breathe through the porous cells of your skin. Kingdom. There are 4 families of primates in the New World. Scientists believe that Platyrrhini migrated across the Atlantic Ocean to South America some 40 million years ago on a raft of mangroves. New World monkeys differ from Old World monkeys primarily in the nose and teeth. Platyrrhini is flat-nosed with 12 premolars instead of 8. These were formed after months of eating only the bark of the mangrove raft. Even now, Platyrrhini sometimes hangs from the limbs of trees by her teeth. But it is the prehensile tail, that most wondrous limb, that makes the New World primate so strange to behold. Up there in the tree, she is beckoning you with the flick of her tail. It is as strong as your arm, but more supple, the surface soft with fur. If you could, you would swing yourself up to her. You are the same order, but a different family. You lack the arboreal. She is preternaturally flirtatious. This should serve as a warning to you, but you are entranced by the movement of her furred appendage. Come, she says, and somehow, without limb or flight, you do. This is the friendliest audience I think I've ever experienced. You guys, you're all like a very welcoming, loving crowd. Thank you. Phylum. The Americas span 8% of the Earth's surface. Everywhere there is water. You are all wetness, some tearing of. This is only a phenomenon of the body. Your mind has left you utterly alone. What it is to be sentient and not sapient, to hold oneself subjectively but lack a perception, that tingling sensation at the back of your neck. In desperation, South America broke free of the supercontinent, Gondwanaland. Then came the volcanoes and the endless erosions. An entire world was formed. When you let her inside of you, you became isthmus, this fingering of. Later she would dredge you, make a canal of your intestines, sail right through. Americo Vespucci renamed himself after Amerique, a merchant who financed explorations across the oceanic expanse, to be closer to the continents, to be of and from, to be with her and to forget everything else, to hold her and name this geography as your own. The Americas are rimmed with mountains. Between lay vast plains. In the north, there are Protestants everywhere. Even the immense river basin cannot wash the land free of them. What has been sacrificed still bleeds in the mountainside. The rest is leached white, a blanketing or blizzard of this hungering of the new world. This was the last one in this series, class. There are many means of differentiation, to order yourself according to sort and then judge. Taxonomy is a hierarchical arrangement. You learned this early but somehow misunderstood hierarchy's relationship to gender. Who could imagine that the parameters of girlhood could be so narrow? This is a problem of being. Some make a study of it, others fuck their way through. The knowledge of how is always more fun than the knowledge of why. In either case, the nomenclature differs, but the effect is the same. Pay attention to the color and texture of your tongue. This is predictive, it is diagnostic. In the center strip, there is a narrow groove. Many have been caught in it. Sometimes your mouth is too full to chew. This is how you learn the limits of your heart. When she follows the curve of you, there is some slippage in some wooded place, what birds hatch the sky into. You call yourself wing, a feathering, but cannot navigate the wind. Any impediment really is enough to make you forget your own classification. Without order, there is some confusion about cause and effect, but you will always have metaphor. Somewhere in this juxtaposition is the capacity to transform. Your tongue riot with, each exhalation, the birth of another century, its violent form. Thank you.
Wow. Good job. Good job. Thank you. Now, wasn't that great? Give them both another round of applause. That was like woo-hoo! As my mom would say, yowza.
I'm going to just do a very quick thing here. That was just so great. Sometimes just go, wow, what a great poem. Wow, what a great poem. Just keep on going. And it's like, but anyway, we're going to take a quick break. I want to let you know who's coming up after the break. We have the Sanderell, Jennifer Barone, James Ellis, Nicole Savage, Yasmin Logo, Hal Robbins, Bill Mercer's in the house, Justice Marco Harms, who's not here yet, Bear, who's back there. I signed him in anyway because he didn't tell me to, but I signed him anyway. We got Garrett Murphy and Chris Faust as the last. So it'll take about 7 or 8 minutes, which will be back in good order, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. My mother thanks you, as I would thank you if I could thank her the way she would thank you.
Yes.
Wow. Whoa.
I know. Jeez Louise.